I didn't realize how much my pillowcase was affecting my sleep until I switched to silk. Waking up with less frizz, smoother skin and feeling cooler and more comfortable at night. In today's video, I'll show you how to make one yourself. Making one by hand comes with many benefits, from choosing the color, the right silk for your personality, which I will get back to in a minute, to getting the perfect size pillowcase and creating something that feels truly special. If you've ever wanted an easy way to improve your hair and skin beauty and a little everyday luxury, this one's for you. This is the first video of my 6-part beauty series, where I will show you how to easily sew fabulous beauty accessories for everyday use. Subscribe and hit the bell to not miss any of these videos. Let's get started! For this silk pillowcase, you only need a silk fabric and the matching thread. At this point, I want to give you a quick input concerning silk. As I've mentioned earlier, make sure you choose a silk fabric that suits your personality. Silk comes from silkworms who make a cocoon with the silk and then develop into a moth. Now, to produce common silk, these worms get killed in order to get the silk threads in one piece. So, for those of you who are concerned with this procedure but still want to have all the good benefits of silk, I have good news. There's also cruelty-free silk, among other names known as pea silk, on the market, where silkworms are allowed to complete their life cycle and emerge from the cocoons as moths. Only then the empty cocoons are harvested to produce silk. So, before you buy a piece of silk, make sure to choose the one that is right for you. Without further ado, let's begin with the silk pillowcase. Measure your pillow. Mine is 70 centimeters long and 50 centimeters wide. Cut out one rectangle that has the size of your pillowcase plus 3 centimeters in width and 3 centimeters in length. So in my example here, my rectangle is 73 centimeters long and 53 centimeters wide. Draw your measurements onto the silk fabric with tailor's chalk, or, and I actually recommend this technique as it's faster and more precise, rip this rectangle. But first, test if your silk fabric can be ripped by ripping a small strip off at one of the edges. Rip all 4 sides of the rectangle. Just be sure not to rip too far, as you don't want to ruin the rest of the fabric. Cut a second rectangle that has the same width, so in my example 53 centimeters, but is at least 10 centimeters longer. So in my example 83 centimeters. I actually couldn't make it any longer because I have no silk left. And as you may know, silk is very expensive. Therefore, I only bought as little fabric as possible. If you have more fabric, then I recommend to make it at least 25 centimeters longer for such a big pillow. Don't throw away any leftover fabric. You can use them to make silk scrunchies. I will show you how to make them in my next beauty video. So make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be the first to know when I upload the video. Fold one narrow edge of each rectangle as follows. Fold the edge approximately 0.75 centimeters and then again. Pin it in place. This does not have to be very precise. Just make sure that the cut edge is neatly tucked away. Replace your sewing needle with a new one with the size 60 or 8, depending on where you live. This needle is extra fine, which is necessary when working with delicate silk. Sew these hems into place with a small distance from the inner fold. Secure the stitches at the beginning and at the end by sewing about 5 stitches forwards, then backwards and forwards again. Do the same with both hems. Cut the threads off. Place the two narrow edges that you haven't hemmed with the left sides onto each other and pin them in place. The left side of the fabric goes on the inside at the end of the pillowcase. Or, as my primary students once so bluntly put it, it's the ugly side of the fabric. They are so funny. The right side is the more beautiful side. Sew this seam with a 0.6 cm distance from the edges. I like to reposition my needle so that it has a 0.6 cm distance to the edge of the presser foot. As always, secure the stitches at the beginning and at the end and cut the threads off. We are making a French seam here, which means it's not necessary to overlock or zigzag the edges to make sure that they don't fray. Cut off any protruding threads. Also cut off any protruding fabric. Press the seam allowances apart using your fingernail, or if you want to, use an iron. Now place the rectangles with the right sides on top of each other and pin the seam in place so that it is exactly on the fold. Sew this seam with a 0.8 cm distance from the edge. You have just sewn a French seam. Doesn't it look pretty? Now pin the long sides of the rectangles onto each other with the left sides facing each other. Start at the French seam. When you get to the top, you'll see that one rectangle is longer than the other one. On the longer rectangle, use a pin to mark where the shorter rectangle ends. Fold the longer rectangle down at the pin so that it has the same length as the shorter one. Fold it down by placing the left sides on top of each other. Now pin the rest of the edges together. In the end, it should look like this. The part that you folded down is sandwiched in between the rectangles. Do the same with the other long edges of the rectangles. Sew these seams with a 0.6 cm distance from the edges. Cut off any protruding threads. Press the seam allowances apart by using your fingernail, or do it with an iron, but use a sleeve ironing board to do this. Turn the pillowcase inside out and pin it with the right sides of the fabric onto each other. Make sure that the seam is exactly on the fold. Sew these seams with a 0.8 cm distance from the edges. And as always, secure the stitches at the beginning and at the end and cut the threads off. Turn the pillowcase inside out and carefully cut off any threads coming out of the seam. And then you're finished! Congratulations! Now you can cover your pillow with your new silk pillowcase and look forward to a good night's beauty rest. In the next tutorial, I will show you how to make fabulous silk scrunchies out of those leftover fabric pieces. So if you haven't done so, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to not miss the video. Thanks for watching, see you next time!